Germany, 1483. A time of desolation and disease. Where the plague could wipe out entire towns in days. And a quarter of all children died before they were 5. In this world, there was one great consolation. The Church and its promise of heaven. This promise had made the Church the most powerful institution on earth. Rich beyond counting, mightier than kings, but also corrupt and tyrannical. An empire that would be overturned by one man, Martin Luther. This is the story of a man swept from devotion to rebellion. Of a quest that would set all Europe afire. Spread revolution across nations. And unleash a voice of freedom that still resounds through the modern world. Like so many around him, the young Luther embraced the Church. He served as an altar boy, sang in the choir. For here was a vision of harmony and peace, while life at home seems to have caused only pain and anguish. Luther's father, Hans, was a copper smelter, one of a new and growing class of businessmen who had broken free from the old feudal system and set up on their own. Hans held fierce ambitions for his son. He was determined for him to climb even higher up the social ladder and become a lawyer. But Luther's was not a happy home. Hans Luther was a fierce judge of his son.
My father once whipped me so hard I ran away. I hated him, until he finally managed to win me back.
Luther's mother seems to have been little more sympathetic.
For the sake of stealing a nut, my mother once beat me until the blood flowed.
The fear of punishment and of failing would resound in Luther for the rest of his life. Although it would drive him not to fulfill his father's ambitions, but to spectacular rebellion. At first, Luther followed the path laid out for him. He was sent to the best schools in the area, and then, at the age of 18, he enrolled at the University of Erfurt. Compared to Luther's hometown, Erfurt was a bustling metropolis. It offered everything that might appeal to a young student, countless taverns and bars. In a time without clean drinking water, beer and wine were a staple drink. The city even had its own municipal brothel, run by the city council. But Erfurt was also unique in more elevated ways. At Erfurt, Luther blossomed. He became a keen musician, and he forged a number of close friendships with his fellow students. Luther stuck firmly to his studies. He gained his Bachelor of Arts and then his Master's degrees. All that remained was to take his final course in law, and he would be everything his father wished. But suddenly, all the certainties of Luther's life were shattered. In the year 1505, plague struck Erfurt. Disease ran amok through the city's narrow streets, leaving death and anguish in its wake.
Impossible to explain. Nobody knew how you caught it at the time. Nobody knew why you caught it, except that they had a general sense that God was punishing them for their sins. It was a terrible, visible sign of punishment.
The Black Death had killed almost a half of Europe's population in the previous 100 years. But the epidemic would now touch Luther directly. 3 of his friends were killed by the disease. And this glimpse of man's mortality and the fear of God's wrath would lead to the first great turning point in Luther's life. Luther, now 23, was returning to Erfurt after a visit to his family, when suddenly he was caught in a massive thunderstorm. No one knows exactly what happened to Luther that night, but it struck him to his very soul.
Suddenly surrounded by the terror and agony of death, I felt constrained to vow myself to God.
With 3 friends already lost to the plague, now faced with death himself, Luther struck a bargain with God. He vowed to become a monk.